WL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. Without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Take, where Shannon Sharpe is apparently spitting some nonsense about Joel Embiid, talking about that the 76ers should shut him down for the rest of the season. I really want to hear his logic. I feel very comfortable talking about this topic because I personally have torn my meniscus, what happened to Joel Embiid, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I had 2 different types of surgeries. And the same surgery, 2 different types of rehab approaches. Because when you're doing a recovery for your meniscus, there's kind of 2 ways that you can do it. One is you rehab it during the healing process, meaning from the moment you get the surgery, you start doing rehab. And you even walk on it, weight bearing, take off the brace, and when you're laying in bed, you start to flex it and stuff. Or the other side is no weight bearing for 6 weeks, nothing, and then it's a different approach from there. Now, and that's if you get a repair. And then the other 2 options are one where they remove the meniscus entirely, which they don't like to do because they want to preserve the knee. It can increase the likelihood of getting arthritis, or they trim, depending on where the tear is, you trim part of it and remove it. To my knowledge, Joel Embiid has gotten a full, repair. So let's jump into the clip. Let's see what he has to say, and we can break it down from there.
Tonight in Boston, and they'll be without their best player, Joel Embiid. Our Ramona Shelburne reported last week that there is an optimism in Philadelphia that Embiid can return at some point during the regular season, at least close enough to the playoffs to get his rhythm heading into the playoffs. All right, Shannon, you're up first. What do you think? Should the Sixers shut down Embiid for the season?
I shut him down. I mean, he's had knee problems basically his whole career. He's been dealing with lower extremities, especially for a man that's that height and that size. To come back, say 2 or 3 games, he's going to really need to get conditioning. So he's going to need to come back probably about 6 weeks before the end of the season to give himself an opportunity to play Stephen A. and get himself in basketball shape. I would not risk it. Joel Embiid is your future. I don't believe you're going to win a championship with a hobble Joel Embiid. I'm shutting Joel Embiid down. Say, big fella, get ready for next year. I just cannot run the risk of having him re-injure that knee and be out and even miss more time, maybe even miss off-season training and conditioning, have to have another surgery. It's not worth it to me. I'm shutting him down.
Shannon, you know this from personal experience, and Stephen A. also to some degree. We are not wired to shut down,
no.
Especially if we have the opportunity, as Ramona said, to get some rhythm moving forward and then enter the playoffs. I think he should play, and granted, he has...
All right, I don't really care about her opinion, I'll be honest. Sorry. But, okay, let's unpack what Shannon just said. The risk of re-injuring your knee, this idea that he's going to need all this extra conditioning, I reject, because again, during the rehab process, you're going to be doing a lot of conditioning. I understand it's not the same thing as on the court, right? So I'm not making that argument, but you are, doing a lot of conditioning, strengthening. Again, put it this way. The only way he can come back is if he got the procedure done in the way where they already starting to rehab it. And even if they did, so what also other times doctors kind of split the difference, where they say no weight bearing for 2 weeks, and then they start to do it. But the truth is that you're not actually hurting the meniscus. There's no actual risk for re-injuring it in that regard, because the way it happens is that you need the actual pounding. You need to ride the bike. You need to run. You need to strengthen it and go through the motions, because the way how the scar tissue gets laid down, they want that. That's why they start to rehab it right away, because otherwise they don't do this as much, where they do just put it in a brace for 6 weeks. I can see maybe there's certain circumstances when they do this, but the scar tissue gets laid down now in a stiff position, and it's a lot harder to now recover that way. Not only does the recovery take longer now, but it's also increases the likelihood of having more issues down the road. But when you do it, when you start to recover from day one, you're laying the scar tissue down now in a pattern that is making sense for the knee. That is why they do it. Because the scar tissue is being regenerated however it is. Think of, for those of you guys who have seen, Rookie of the Year, where he broke his arm or whatever. I forget exactly what he broke, but then it seized up, and then so that's why he was able to like throw real hard. It's obviously a silly example and an extreme example, but it's very similar to that. And again, I've had both rehab approaches. Brutal. The one where you don't do any weight bearing for the first few weeks, or I think it was like for 4 weeks for me, absolutely brutal. The recovery was so much harder, so much more painful, just awful relative to doing the recovery from day one, doing the rehab from day one. And again, I've had some of the worst tears that you could possibly have in a meniscus that still allows you to rehab it, to repair it and not remove it. Sometimes it's torn in a way or torn so badly that you just can't recover it, that you can't repair it. Mine was done in a way that was pretty much at the brink where it was like we could either remove it or repair it. Let's try our best to repair it. And I had a bucket handle tear, which means it was like around this thing. So the meniscus is kind of like a flat disc like this, okay? And I had a tear all the way around, and it then got lodged into my knee because it flaps. And it got lodged into my knee, and I could not extend my knee anymore, okay? Like it classified as like emergency surgery actually, but as luck would have it, it was right over the holidays, and so I had to wait until, because they weren't doing any surgeries, and so I had to wait until after New Year's, I believe it was, and I literally had to like hop around with like a gimpy leg. It was pretty crazy, but tore it playing basketball, tore my meniscus twice playing basketball. So, but again, playing basketball and running up and down the court is actually good therapy for the meniscus in that regard, especially considering what he's looking to do, obviously, with his career, play basketball. The only risk that you have now of re-injuring it or re-tearing it, because again, you can get the surgery and walk and put weight on it right away. You really can. The biggest risk is loading it when you're in like a squat position. But once the sutures heal, which will take about 6 weeks, there's no risk of now re-injuring it in that regard. It's already been healed. The scar tissue is laid down. You can't just magically re-tear it. The risk is that your muscles maybe are not as strong in strength and condition. So then now if you do fall or you do get contact, like the way meniscuses mainly are tearing is not from a load, it's from contact of some sort, or like, you jump and your knee, goes in, or, you know what I mean? Like it's like a different thing. It's not just a pure loading thing. So the risk of fatigue is only in the way that now, like when you're more fatigued, you're more likely to maybe have your knee go in an awkward angle or something like that. But in terms of just like the freak accidents of someone, getting thrown into it of some sort, there's, if you're 12 months healed or, 10 weeks healed, there's not that big of a difference. So this risk, and let's just say he does end up re-tearing it. Here's an unsexy rebuttal to that, is it actually doesn't matter that much, because his knees are already packed with scar tissue. He's already had these surgeries. Getting an additional one, which again, I don't want him to get. I am totally pro keeping athletes healthy and injury free. Like I've made videos about that before. So I am not one of these guys that just says, let them play, who cares, sacrifice your body. I am not for that at all. Again, as someone who's gotten multiple injuries, multiple surgeries, I know from personal experience. But the reality is that if he injured it again and it's just his meniscus again, it just is like a crappy, summer for him now, right? He just has to kind of go through it. It's more mentally draining than anything else at that point. So the risk of him now tearing it and now doing like more permanent damage that now puts his career in jeopardy of some sort, I'm not seeing that. If he's fully recovered, that's what it comes down to. But you can absolutely come back from a meniscus tear in 6, 7, 8 weeks, and that's for like mere mortals. That's for the average Joes of the world, not the people that have the world-class surgeons, world-class nutritionists, have the world-class genetics, they have superior healing abilities than just regular old people. Like, so he can do it. The only other argument against it is that he is just such a big guy that the conditioning and all that can be a little bit slower. But I think I'm kind of optimistic in this regard. When I heard that he was injured and I heard that it was only a meniscus tear, I was like, okay, I obviously have lots of experience with that. And I looked at it from, this could actually be a good thing. Again, I don't want him to tear his meniscus, but my logic was he could heal, go through rehab, and be like ready to go. And now he's actually going to be fresh in the playoffs, which he's never been. Kind of like how AD and LeBron were fresh in the playoffs during the bubble. They got all this time off. And then they were able to jump in and play. And it made all the difference for LeBron and AD. All the difference. Especially AD, who we know is injury prone. And the truth is that Embiid has never really been healthy in the playoffs. His body struggles to withstand an 82-game season. It just does. Along with just really bad luck of getting, breaking bones in his freaking face multiple times, knee issues, getting thrown in, having people being thrown into him, like just bad luck as well. So this is actually potentially a good thing. That's why I don't want to see him shut down, because I believe, based on the timeline, he had the surgery on February 6th. It's by the time the playoffs start, he should be in pretty good shape. The thing that will be lacking is some of his endurance. Like, the risk of it re-injury is not there. The endurance, obviously, he will not be like 100%. Where will he be? 80%? 90%? No idea. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. I don't care what anyone says. As well as he'll have soreness. So after he plays the game, yes, you will absolutely have soreness. Because what happens is also, once you're fully recovered, your body, like, let's say you're recovered, and let's say to that date, and I'm just making up numbers, you were able to squat for, 50 reps at 100 pounds, totally making up numbers. If that was the most you have done since your recovery, that next day, the knee itself, like inside it, right? What it is the meniscus, you feel it inside your knee. So it's not like the muscle or anything like that or on the top. Like, it's literally like, that feels like the center of your knee. You feel that soreness there that next day. And you'll continue to experience soreness every time you take it to the next level. Every time you overextend what you were able to do in the past until you finally max out. So he will definitely experience soreness within those first few games, without a doubt. And then that could be just, that just ends up being more of a pain tolerance thing. It's not an indicator of he's hurting it, he's stressing it too much. It's just the nature of how everything is healing. I want to see if we can just jump to Stephen A. See what Stephen A. has to say real fast. It sounds like he wants him to play. So I'm curious to see what he has to say, what his logic is.
Have more knowledge. He's better than when.
If Joel Embiid, Shannon,
Best player in the NBA.
Yeah.
Shannon Sharpe.
What you gonna do with it?
If Joel Embiid said that he was taking his wife and he was going on a trip to Barbados, I'd be scared he was gonna step on a rock and be gone for the season. This is what we're talking about.
Yes.
We're talking about Joel Embiid, who has been in the league since 2014, and there has not been a single season that he has not been hurt. 2014 to 2016, there's very few people on the planet who get drafted the top 3 overall and don't play a game the first 2 years of their careers. That's Joel Embiid, because he came in with a foot injury. He's had foot injuries, he's had knee injuries, he's had back injuries, he's had ankle injuries, he's had everything. He had that stomach issue, had a facial issue as well. So, bro, let me tell you something right now. I'm taking him, I'm putting him any chance I get. I don't give a damn. I ain't sitting him down, I ain't shutting him down, nothing. If he could give me 10 minutes, I'm taking the man averaging 35 and 11. He's been averaging over 30 the last 3 years, 28 the year before that. The brother's a scoring machine. The footwork is phenomenal. He's maybe one of the greatest skilled big men this game has ever seen. If that brother could give me 15 to 20 minutes at 75%, I'm taking it. I don't care. I'm not sitting him down, because there is no such thing as let's get him ready for the next season. Because you can get him ready for the next season, and then he can show up in training camp, and damn it,
And that's the thing. That is actually a good point by Stephen A. that I forgot to mention. This whole idea of get him ready for the next season. It's like, what the heck does that mean? With Joel Embiid's history, that doesn't mean anything. In fact, this is actually the best chance of having him healthy going into the playoffs. That's what it really gets boiled down to me, is that this is actually the best chance of getting him healthy into the playoffs. And if that's the case, you take it. You don't just shut him down for arbitrary reasons. If he was not recovered, if the meniscus wasn't healing as they anticipated, if his conditioning was just completely washed, then you can reevaluate that. Embiid is a workhorse. Embiid cares so much. For those of you who maybe don't know Embiid very well or just more casuals, Embiid cares so much. He puts everything he can out there. He wants to play so badly. He plays through all the pain that he can, through all the injuries that he can. He wants to be out there. He wants to win a championship very badly. So we know he's going to put in the work in rehab. He's definitely not like, hey man, that's where my meniscus, I'm just shutting down for the rest of the season. Like, he is like, no, I have to get back out there. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So better believe that they are going to be doing everything to facilitate and accelerate that recovery. And that may be even doing things that are beyond what they normally do. They have other injections to help facilitate the process, which could be a combination between stem cells as well as plasma-rich platelet-rich plasma, I forget, PRP. There's all these different things that they can do. And I'm curious where he got the surgery, if it was in Philadelphia, or if it was with potentially Penn. For those of you who don't know, Penn's like a world-renowned hospital, Ivy League, right, University of Pennsylvania. But I don't know if that's where he got it. I think, if memory serves me correctly, one of the doctors that I went to for my clavicle break was associated with the 76ers. And that's upper body though. So I do believe that Penn, Penn is associated with the Philadelphia 76ers. So if he did, you could imagine that he is definitely getting pretty much as, cutting edge level of recovery without a doubt. So those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, please let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm, and I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.